and actions? Or does it begin even earlier in life itself when a living being reacts to its surroundings? From the biological point of view, cognition is often explained through the brain and nervous system. As life evolved, brain became more complex, and with that came memory, learning, and intelligence. From the philosophical point of view, the question goes deeper. Is thinking only a physical process? Or is it also about meaning, awareness, and experience? Can thinking exist without language? Can it exist without self-awareness? So, we are here for panel discussion. The broader topic is where does cognition begin, philosophical and biological view. Dr. John Bogdan will be chairing this session, and we have panelists for this panel discussion. Due to some medical emergency of his friend Dr. Alex Hankey is on the way to hospital, so he is not available today. So Dr. John Bogdan will be chairing this session, and the panelists are Dr. Shiv Sachit, Dr. C.K. Bharadwaj, Dr. Yamini Bhushan Tripathi, and Professor Balram Singh. So now the dice is over to the chair, Dr. John Bogdan.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Called in the last minute, but I'm ready to go. So I'm going to talk about Dr. Shiv Sachit. He's a UK-based multimedia journalist, media technology consultant, and visiting professor with over 25 years of experience. He is director of the Global Media Network, where he leads media research, training, and citizen journal initiatives. His work focuses on the convergence of traditional journalism and emerging digital technologies, with a strong emphasis on digital transformation and countering misinformation. He is the author of Redefining Journalism, Professional Citizens and Innovation in the Digital Area. Dr. Shadir Badwa, CK, is an educationalist, researcher, and founder of COAIM framework, and serves as General Secretary of the Sawan Adhyamic Yatsing Society, New Delhi. His work centers on value-based education, ethics, meditation, and scientific study of consciousness, with extensive experience in curriculum development across all levels of education. He has collaborated with UNESCO, NSERT, CBSE, AICTE, promoting intention-based self-regulation as a foundation of holistic learning. And then our third panelist is Dr. Pratyabhijñā Yumber. Oh, are you not here? What's your name?
Yamini Tripathi.
Tripathi, please. Oh, Yamini Tripathi, professor, is a distinguished professor in the Department of Medicinal Chemistry at the Institute of Medical Sciences, Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi. Trained in biochemistry, has made significant contributions to experimental medicine, anti-inflammatory research, and molecular studies rooted in Ayurveda, with over 100 research publications and multiple international patents. His work bridges traditional Indian medical knowledge with modern biomedical science. He has also contributed to the integrated studies on panchakarma and perinatal oxidative stress. Alongside his academic and administrative leadership at BHU, he serves as an editor and reviewer for several international biochemistry journals, shaping research directions in his field. And our fourth panelist is Dr. Balram Singh, Professor Singh. What can I say about Dr. Singh? He runs several research laboratories, he runs a school, he's got hundreds of publications, He's a world expert in botulinum neurotoxin, and they're running about 12 different product development programs here at the Institute in India and in the United States. And I've known Balaram for at least 15 years. So let's begin. Why don't we just start with viewpoints? We'll start from the right, moving this way to the left, and then Balaram finish the conversation, and then we can discuss amongst the group and answer any questions. How's that sound?
Thank you very much for chairing this panel. I would like to say that the Sharir, as per Ayurveda, the Sharir, Indriya, Man and Atma, when four things unite, then a human body is started. I think in the before birth, I think after fourth month, the Atma comes on the day one, but the Indriya and all these things get developed. It takes time, 4 to 5 months. In the 9 months, the baby is in the womb. So I think 5 months onward, some consciousness starts. And that is why the story of Abhimanyu, he learned many things when he was in the womb of his mother. So, and other thing, the sound is the important thing. The sound is there. So the baby in the womb is listening something. But when after the birth, I think when the sense organs interact with their substances, their objects, 5 sense organs and 5 objects. There are 25 elements which make the body. The 5 are the sense organs and 5 are the objects of the sense organs. So total 10. So when this interaction of sense organs and its object takes place, then it goes the feeling like the Magdala that they showed you in the brain. They get the information and then it is processed by your brain, that is the internal system of citi and smriti. So cognition starts in the 2 phases. One is the before birth, through the sound, and other is the after birth, through 5 sense organs. This is the science which I could see.
Well, I do agree with the previous speaker, Dr. Yamini, that the convergence of emotions, feeling, electrical and chemical signals do converge, which actually join up with bodily structure coming from the brain, the heart. The heart is a primary source of signals which informs the brain. There are more, 47 more powerful afferent nerves that converge and drives signals of emotions to the brain, whereas there are less afferent. Afferent and efferent are different. Afferent is signals going up to the brain, and efferent is those signals coming down from the brain to the heart. So it's a matter of working together in convergence of emotions, feelings, your paradigm, where you came from. If you are an advocate working in a court, your thoughts will be related to your paradigm, which defines your thoughts, to your belief. So one leads to another. So your paradigm leads to your interest leads to further your curiosity, which leads to intention. Then it goes on and on until you reach your point of destination, which is decision making and taking action. So if your thoughts are positive, your cognition are meeting with other parameters of your body and mind, that is also supervised and vetoed by a overarching power, which is the soul power, the power of Atma, which has attributes, that has the power of veto over your physical body as well as your non-physical mind. So this is my premise, and I would like to focus on that, and if anyone has a thought, we will discuss it here amongst ourselves for your benefit. Thank you.
very rightly, Shiv explained about that. And he said that the veto is available to you. I would like to explain this phenomena, that you are part of totality of consciousness. And totality of consciousness, as I always say, it is like an omni-scanner. It is all-knowing, all-pervading. And the cognition starts once we acquire the mind. Mind is information system, laws of nature embedded in that. And you have got 4 layers of mind. So cognition starts only because the point is that where does cognition begin? Cognition begins at the level of the mind when we acquire the mind. And we are all individuals, and we have done that part. And then that absolute intelligence and a capable force, totality of consciousness, helped you as per that plan of your mind to make this body having all those circuits all around your brain connections with your skin and with your digestive system, your breathing, your heart. All these things start from there, because it is only after acquiring the mind and then creating that body, it percolates through that mind, all the 4 layers of mind, then it goes downwards and outwards into the world through the senses of the body. So it picks up all that information and stores it in the mind. Mind has got that information. So my perception is only that. Now this is what bit of it is philosophical. Now I need that this should be checked scientifically, because what Shiv said, it is all proven through the medical science. But these things which I am saying are not scientifically proven or backed. Now we must work on that, and that is what is needed. Then we can very clearly know that where the philosophical and biological views are together, and how we can really understand, because philosophy is again an information. You know, this is how we believe in the philosophy, what philosophy of life is. So once we know the totality of consciousness, and then it acquired the mind, that is where the cognition starts. And it comes up to this level. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you. I don't agree with any one of you. Because what we call science is really myth, by definition. Myth is defined by something that changes with time and space. So since it is whatever we are talking about, including, well, I know this, I know that, if you really ask me this 10 years later, I will be saying something else. So that is the major problem. To even claim that I'm going to do science, I'm doing chemistry. So we don't know. I think the only thing we can know at that moment, given, hopefully you can use AI to get everything else that is we don't know, and then give an opinion. The truth is the instrument. You just said, we have our sensory organs. That's what we see. Well, there was a time I didn't know anything about membrane when I started doing research. But then I use atomic force microscopy and I see everything. It's the instrument. I was the same person. I had no idea. So it's the instrument that we use. We have our sensory organs, and from that we can make some sense of what's really going on, because we can hear, we can taste, we can see, we can touch. But if science makes progress, electron microscope, NMR spectroscopy, FTIR spectroscopy, I do all of it, and then suddenly start having very different ideas about the same thing, about the proteins, some simple things, membranes. So I think it all depends on what is around us. It's what determines what we are. So rather and we take saying this, if we have become humble and humiliation or humility to see what the rest of the world is communicating, which whether you like it or not, you are going to be affected by it. So I think cognition is not dependent on me. It dependent on all of you, everybody in that situation, and that's how I feel.
So a little food for thought, because I have identical twins. And you know, their environment, they shared the same environment while they're developing, right? You know, they knew each other intimately, more intimately than probably they wanted to. It was very interesting that once they were born, they would not want to be separated from each other. But one was a little bit more annoyed at times because she was not in the perfect position for delivery. And she was scrunched up under my wife's rib cage. The other one was, you know, head down, ready to go. And to this day, she is the little more bully and ornery one of the two. And there's another interesting story. How you, in recognition and language recognition and development, these twins, they had their own language. Before they learned the English language, they had their own language. And one would be in another room playing, and she would shout out something you couldn't even understand, and the other one would come running right to her sister. And it would be vice versa. They had their own little language between the two of them that no one ever taught them. They taught themselves. By being together for all those months in utero, I believe, and also they shared a crib for the first 2 years of life and slept together. So they were, their environment and how they were raised and how they were together influenced, you know, the way they acted and the way they saw the world. So that's just my little perspective. I always played, I always performed experiments with them, not them knowing it, but, you know, do you like chocolate ice cream versus vanilla ice cream? And they both chose chocolate, obviously, because they're identical twins. You know, they sort of, you know, have the same genes, right? So, all right. So maybe let's move a little to environment. How environment stimulates cognition, because everybody, you know, the world has evolved over time. And Balaram showed me this beautiful picture of how, you know, that mankind started in Africa and then slowly progressed to India and then back to China and across to North America. And then, you know, how do different peoples, how is their cognition different from other people's, and how has the environment and their evolution impacted that? Is there any takers on that question?
From the audience. From the audience. Anybody?
Anybody?
Yes, sir.
Okay, come up and take the microphone.
Take the mic. Are you doing it? Philosophical test.
Sir, my question is from the sir, sit behind Balram, sir. I don't know your name, sir. Sorry.
John.
Sir, this sir.
John.
Okay.
Dr. Bharat.
Dr. Bharadwaj.
Dr. Bharadwaj. Sir, as you had said, philosophy and information are the same. At what extent can we say that philosophy and information are same? Or how can we correlate the philosophy with information?
Well, why is that? Philosophy has been developed based on information. Because as I said that each generally all religions are philosophies, and it is a philosophy of life, how you live. So you have to evaluate and get that information, how to manage those problems. And then the philosophy develops. And that's how you know about it. And I said that philosophy develops your psychology and psychology develops your behavior. So it is all information based, nothing else. Whereas you are totality of consciousness. And if you can really understand this part, that can give you much more, because we've been talking about consciousness as well. So that totality of consciousness is a thing to be understood. That once we get into informations, these informations are at the level of the mind. As Balramji also said, all informations, Basically, the instruments which he mentioned are also being made by that information system only, that this is what is needed. So you make instruments and you start believing on them, that this is what my instrument is saying.
Okay, the question is when the consciousness started,
Yeah.
when, what time is in the lifespan?
Yeah.
You answer that.
Yeah, I have already answered that in my earlier talk.
You said that when the mind,
When you acquire the mind,
what time will you acquire the mind? This is one.
it is beyond, you enter this field where time and material did not exist. And you came to the area of the universal mind, where you picked up the mind, which is known as causal mind.
Can we take some lead from the embryology?
Well, if you can really, yes, you can correlate with all that you acquired the mind. So I explained the whole thing again. I mention it very briefly, that you acquired the mind which is known as causal mind. And that cause was to come and feel the creation. To feel the creation, you needed senses. To have those senses, you created an Ardhanareshwar sketch. Half woman and half man. Sometimes you will become a woman, sometimes you will become a man. To experience this time-bound material creation. And then you further come down there to make an astral mind and astral body, where you start with a program, which is a state-of-art planning ability and its execution ability. So planning ability, you started in the astral region from a single cell to the human body. So there you have, then finally you come to the physical part. Once you, as a creative intelligence, you are light and sound along with the laws of nature and information systems. You are light and sound, and if you strike on pure elements, you convert them into amino acids, and amino acids synthesize the proteins. Now you start developing all those neuro systems, neuro connections, and then gradually you develop to the human body. A single cell doesn't have all that system, but gradually you did that. So totality of consciousness did it. And that is what is the origin of cognition, when you acquire the mind.
Good.
Oh, please.
Sir, I have another question. Sir, my question is from this
Dr. Yamini Tripathi.
Dr. Yamini Tripathi. In previous session, you were talked of origin of language and cognition. I want to ask you that how origin of language is related to the cognition and development of cognition.
Did you?
No, you talk.
I talked.
You talk.
Oh,
I talked about origin of language.
I forgot this.
No, I did talk about origin of language. So I said that the language comes from beyond, as Maharishi Panini explained, para pashanti madhyama vaikari. So it comes from para, which is divine, and your totality of consciousness understands everything. It's all-knowing, all-pervading. So it is enriched with divine attributes, which is love, compassion, mercy, humility, state-of-art planning ability, let us face as it comes, justice, appreciation, etc. So it has got all the solutions of life. All-knowing, all-pervading is there. Now this is how the language comes. But when it is handed over to the mind to look into the local language which you have learned, somebody is Chinese, somebody speaks French, somebody speaks Tamil, so your mind has learned the language. So the essence comes from beyond and it is handed over to the mind. And mind does not know that it is coming from there. You are never taught because mind is purely information based. Whatever you are taught, you know only that. Somebody is an engineer, somebody is a doctor, somebody knows this language, somebody knows that language. So whatever you know, that is what is your area. So that is how whatever you know, so that is how the mind takes over that language and ignores the divine language. Because it deals with lust, anger, ego, attachment, deceit, fears and worries. Then through high tide, low tide, it triggers your brain and electrical movements go all over your body. That is how the language is going further into the body. The body language gets formed. Aapke mukke tange and you are ready to fight. But then the same electrical movements go to the central diaphragm, which is Madhyama, as Maharishi Panini said. That moves with that electrical movement. Small puffs of air with that ripple come through the lungs, through the trachea, larynx, the voice box. Then you speak out that language. So at two places, the pollution has taken place. The mind has polluted the language, and the body has polluted the language for its own needs. So I always say that the illegitimate needs of the mind and body pollute the language, and it has got all those divine attributes, have got all the solutions, and we are ignoring it because this is the short of knowledge. So we are working on Jnanam Subhijnanam. So we want to convey this through knowledge, through science.
With due respect to this discussion, I believe that we're moving away from the topic of the day, which is the topic is where does cognition come from? I think all of us, the audience side and us here, we should stick to the point, stay close to the subject, otherwise we'll be here all night. Any questions?
एक ही चीज तो आदमी को आता बोलना.
That is language.
That's language. Sometimes I feel we as human beings, just because we can talk a lot, we just talk a lot. Reality might be something else. I'll tell you a story. John just mentioned about his daughters, twins. I don't have twins, I have thins. I have 3 kids. My middle one is my favorite because he's a central figure. Once he was 7-year-old and she was dressing up like Indian clothes. So I just said out of cuteness, I said, oh, how lovely, I wish I had that. You know what she said? She said, Dad, when you grow up, you will fit in this. That's how I feel about us talking about bacteria or atoms, billions of years old. And we are giving our ideas. Jaki rahi bhavna jaisi prabhurat dekhi din aisi. This is for John's assignment. He has to figure that out. What did I say? So it means, John, however we feel inside is what we see outside. So, which is exactly the technology in science. You know, if you want, you have a spectrophotometer, then you just see that. See spectrum and then tell everything about that. So, Dr. John Bhardwaj has worked very hard about spirituality and everything. So he has figured it out exactly how it all fits. But it may be just because, like, you know, I said my daughter was 7-year-old. I see the same thing about Europeans, like you said, you know, the environment effects. So Europeans have really had tough life. And so don't blame them for being always very careful and figuring it out how to find food, because there is only one crop. Those of you know here in India, you get 3 crops. Europe gets 1 crop. So they have to be always worried about the food. And so if they behave, you know, they have to go get something somewhere. And that's why they are very strong and they go after. So that's their situation, that's their environment. And you know, I have a German friend, you probably know, Klaus Fink, who comes from Earth. The Germans speak very, very, very mildly. They would speak, you can hardly hear. So I once asked my friend Klaus, I said, do you know why you speak so slow? He said, no. I said, because it's too cold for you to open your mouth. if you ask the Italians, they like shout all the time because out of the Europe, Italians are in the best weather. So anyway, the environment. Your question was how the environment affects. There are so many other things that can be said, but at least this will be helpful.
Just a little comment, because I was talking about this before, and he was mentioning the amoeba in his talk, which I think is the single cell organism that everything started from, maybe. And but amoebas can be infected by bacteria, and they probably can be infected by viruses, and those infections lead to genetic exchange. Those symbiotic or non-symbiotic environments lead to genetic change and adaptation, in the milieu of the nutrients in the ground or the water or whatever. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this when it comes to my talk tomorrow on toxins and venoms, the good, bad, and the ugly, on how they evolved and maybe how we coexist with them, recognizing danger versus recognizing safety from the environment and from people around you and all that stuff like that. So I'm not going to belabor it anymore, but I think I'm going to say cognition is a very difficult topic to discuss. And if you're not in the philosophy field and you're in the science field, you probably may have a little different opinion on how it really is. So, but from my twins, I know if no one ever spoke to them and they were raised in a room, they would develop their own language of communication. They would. And they would not know English, they would not know Indian, they would not know French, Italian. They would have the language they started developing as 6-month-old infants crawling around or toddling around on the floor. If they were in the plastic bubble, that's how they would develop. They would, by need, develop their own communication system. So.
I just have a quick observational study from you. You had a twin, right?
Yeah.
The twin baby.
Girls.
Okay. So they were
Identical twin girls.
Okay, they were having the same environment in the womb. So when they're born, how they behave? Like, was there a lot of difference in them, or they are almost same?
For the most part, they're the same, but one was in more of an uncomfortable position than the other, and that one is a little more aggressive.
Okay, that is the process of that.
Like they play soccer, now the one's a little more aggressive, or they come to me asking for something. That one's a little more aggressive. She's a little kind of tougher, and then you can actually see it in the one jaw. The more mild one has a rounder jaw, and the jawline, and the other one has a little bit squarer jaw, like she's a boxer or something like that. They have a little bit difference there, and I don't know if that's from being in the womb the way they were, or just I don't know, just their adaptation to struggle. Maybe it was easier for the first one. Maybe the newborn. The first one that came out, maybe we took care of more when she was young. I don't know. So, but we'll see. They're both athletic. They're both identical. They both are entering the medical field, veterinary and medicine. And I assume they're going to the same college together. So.
I have to add something to this, and one of my personal experience was my twins, boy and girl. Although they're born in the same environment, same embryo, same everything, same time, the difference in the birth time is only 5 minutes, but they go different ways. Each of them has a different way. The girl is more confident, more extrovert than the boy. The boy in habits and nature should have been a girl, and and the girls are having a boy, but here it's the other way around. This begs a question as to how come a given environmental stimuli produce the same sort of set of reaction, which is totally different between two twins. So there's one of the paradox for me to deal with. Anyway, any questions?
Yeah, I would like to add up. He says it was the same womb when they were developing there. But sometimes, the heart is on the left side. So maybe some portion, the more blood goes to one, the other one goes a little less. Sometimes she sleeps on the right side, sometimes on the left side. So all these can be different conditions.
And the noise, the sound is still stronger than.
The twin closer to the heartbeat got a stronger sound of the beating of the blood, right? It's sort of like being around here and the beeping of the horns, They get more mad because one got more mad because the sound was more deafening than the other one. But, they had to coexist. So they were holding each other. They were touching each other. It was the same embryonic sac. So they were living in the same and growing in the same milieu of amniotic fluid. So there was really no difference. And they had a single placenta. So there wasn't a shared placenta. So they probably got equal blood flow, the same blood flow from my wife. So, or same nutrients, same antibody, crossing over the placenta and stuff like that. So, and in science, you look at, and when COVID came out, they both had the same symptomology. They were identical. They had a hiccup, a cough, a scratchy throat. They were done with it. And till this day, and then they got vaccinated, the 2 shots. To this day, they've not gotten COVID again. So they're kind of immunologically, I would say, identical. So it's pretty cool.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Are we done for the night? Let's have some dinner.